I declare bankruptcy. Michael Scott to the office. 2009? Somewhere right in there, 2006. Toby, head of human resources, has to pull Michael aside to let him know that his debts have not been wiped clean. He, in fact, is not in bankruptcy, even though he declared bankruptcy. That's actually a process that just uses the expression declare. Legal forms and filings, and Toby's got to explain this to him. And Michael's having a hard time getting his head wrapped around this thing. He's been told very clearly he's got to declare it. He woke out. He said, I declare. Very silly, right? But also very relatable. Like when we're kids and we ever hear that term, that's exactly what we think. That's why the writers had that piece of comedy and so many people could relate to it, is because they themselves at one point, not in their adult working life as the manager of a company, but somewhere in their life, they thought that's what you were supposed to do. So, as silly as that might sound, words matter. Titles matter. And that is not something that is understood. People in America do not understand some very basic things, such as the freedom of speech. I hear this discussed constantly. I hear it used constantly. And it is constantly falsely represented. You do not, in America, have the right to say whatever you want. The end. You do not have the right in America that if you say whatever you want, there will not be repercussions. That is not true. You have the right to say in America anything you want about your government, and your government will not come and persecute you. That and that alone, you could be fired instantly from the job that you have. Just for example. So, the reason I tell you that is people don't know that words matter. And a great example to be able to tie this in for you is, remember USADA, guys? And USADA had the right to come and test you. And it was 24/7, it was around the clock, boy. You've got to give it up. However, you've got to be in the pool. You have to be in the USADA pool. And if you come out of the pool, you've got to return to the pool for X amount of days. And we just saw this tested in Conor McGregor's situation for a recent example before we get into whether this is right or not, but they said it was going to be 6 months. So if you leave the pool or you return to the pool, there is penalties. There is expectation. There is criterion that's attached. And you want to know why? Because words matter. So, unlike Michael Scott, who could not just come out and say, I declare bankruptcy, that's exactly how you retire. That is 100% how you come out of the USADA pool. Is you come out and you say, I am retired. There is not an actual form. Oh, and by the way, do you want to know how you unretire? And I realize that I'm going back, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys. Words matter. You want to know how you unretire? You can do it in a text message. You could leave a voicemail. Text is best because now there is some kind of written. You could do it in an email. You could do it in a media outlet. And the moment that you do that, your clock, of which they ruled 6 months for Conor McGregor, or attempted to rule, your clock starts. But they can also come in and test you. Did you know that? Did you know? And it's a very big deal because guys tried to do this. As a matter of fact, I think it was Conor McGregor. Somebody went in. I was working at, it was called UFC Tonight. It was over at Fox. Great time, by the way. But Conor came on and was a guest. And Conor, and we had USADA. USADA was active. And Conor said, I retire. I'm leaving the sport. Now, he was just having some fun. And what he didn't understand is that phrase, even in that scenario, comes with consequences, or at least potential consequences. Dana had to come in over the top of it that night through social media, call a press conference type deal, right? Go to and let people know. No, he's not retired. He doesn't know what that meant. That's not what he said. He is not retired. Because had he retired and then he unretired, he's got to sit for 6 months. Do you understand where this really matters? So we find out that you cannot declare bankruptcy. Okay, that's what Chael's taught you today. But we find out you can retire and you can unretire. just by stating it. Do you know how you become a candidate? Do you know when the news talks about you, it says this person is running for president? Do you know what you have to do to fall into that, which comes with a number of protections, by the way? There's a number of things that a candidate can do, but there's far more that they can't. There is violation, absolute crimes that you could do, and they wouldn't be a crime, but a candidate or a sitting elected official, if they do that same thing, they're getting put in handcuffs. It's one of the reasons I was really a defender. I remember Hillary Clinton went through something, and they said that she wiped her laptop. She bleached it. And they were holding it against her that she had multiple emails, and like the Republicans were going on TV and using this against her. And in all fairness, she cannot get rid of those documents. That is not allowed, but you guys could. You could have multiple emails. You can delete the emails as you see fit. So, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you could do the exact same thing, but the person that's elected can't. Well, a candidate is very much the same. And using those words, I am a candidate, come with some different laws that you might like, some protections that you might like, and 10 times more that you won't. And you are way more likely to end up in the category of Hillary Clinton, who had multiple emails or decided to delete some emails, and find out that you're steering down the wrong path. Well, what happens if that goes down? Well, it could be what happened to Tulsi Gabbard 2 weeks ago. They put her on the watch list. TSA pulls her aside. They don't want her to be able to fly. And I bring you all of this because Conor McGregor has announced that it's not his first time. It's not his first time. Now, I will tell you, the time that he pops on UFC Tonight and retires, and Dana had to come out over the top of it, Conor never did that again. Conor simply did not understand. Nick Diaz, as a matter of fact, used that same defense. Nick was retired. He told us all. Everybody in the sport knew that he was retired, and USADA came in and tested him. And Nick said, you don't have the right to test me. He gave them the sample. He did the test, but he said, you don't have the right to test me. I am not in the pool. I am retired. And he had all sorts of different platforms where he could prove it. He had been on Fox and said it. He'd been on YouTube and said it. He'd been on his social media. I mean, this was a documented statement. It turned into a thing, and Nick won. So I'm just sharing with you how important these words are. And when Conor made the mistake with retirement, he never made it again because somebody got a hold of him. Somebody has not explained to him what it takes to be a candidate. And I haven't boned up in Ireland. Maybe you got to go down to the Secretary of State's office. Maybe you got to fill out that actual form. But I don't think so. I have a really hard time believing that they're more sophisticated than the American process. I would have a hard time believing that would surprise me. And I'm sharing with you, we don't. We don't. You want to get on a ballot? Go fill your paper out with the Secretary of State's office and make sure you do it by the deadline. You want to become a candidate. You want to raise money. You want to use money. You want the things that come along with it, such as slander charges, of which don't stick against other candidates. All right? I mean, in all fairness, it's one of these things. If Conor wants to enter the public domain right now as a candidate, he could never even bring up the expression again that somebody slandered him. He would be fair game. It would put him into a different category. And by the way, if they don't like his policies and he's got to fly internationally, he's going to find out, like Tulsi did, candidates aren't treated the same. It's a very interesting, it's a very slippery slope. Where is Conor going with it? Is he really going to run? That would be pretty cool. I mean, that would be a pretty cool thing. I've only seen one thing like it, and that was Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao won. He won. And where's Conor at in Ireland? I don't know that process very much. But I know our process. And I know using that word, coming out and making that declaration, can put you into a category that you thought you were just using for headlines. And you are not going to like being on that list.